Have you ever had that strange, almost movie-like moment when someone who once walked away from your life suddenly reappears? It could be weeks, months, even years later. Maybe they send you a casual text that says, "Hey, I was just thinking about you." Maybe you see them unexpectedly in a place you never imagined. And instantly, 100 questions fill your mind. Is this fate? Is this just coincidence? Or is there something deeper? Something pulling them back toward me? Let me tell you straight, this isn't about fate. It's not luck. What you're seeing is the result of a certain kind of strategy. But not the manipulative, mind game kind you see in romantic comedies or TV dramas. No, this is a strategy born from something far more profound. Self-respect, emotional control, and an unshakable inner confidence that radiates without you having to say a word. Imagine this, a life where you never have to chase anyone for attention. Where your worth is not a sales pitch you have to repeat over and over again. You don't beg for validation. You don't perform to be chosen. You don't contort yourself into a version of you that isn't authentic, just to keep someone from leaving. Instead, you live in a way that makes you magnetic. You move through the world with a steady presence that people feel without you forcing it. And here's the beauty. This kind of magnetism doesn't need drama. It doesn't need desperation. It needs only you, centered, confident, anchored in peace. You don't have to overshare. You don't have to put your vulnerability on public display like an open diary. You don't have to play emotional chess, calculating every move to hold someone's interest. By embodying the Stoic way of living, people will naturally feel pulled back toward you. Not because you pleaded, not because you manipulated, but because they recognize you as rare. The moment you stop chasing, something shifts inside you, and they can feel it. That subtle hum of neediness fades, and in its place rises an energy of quiet strength, something they can't quite explain, but they can't ignore. So stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to unlock what I call the ultimate Stoic relationship strategy. A way of being that not only makes you unforgettable but also transforms the way you approach every relationship in your life. 1. Master emotional detachment. We need to start here, because this is the foundation. And right away, let's clear something up. When people hear emotional detachment, they picture coldness, distance, maybe even indifference. But that's not what true detachment is. True emotional detachment means you feel deeply, but your feelings don't run your life. You care for people, but your self-worth doesn't depend on how they respond to you. Think about how many people live like emotional yo-yos. One kind text, they're euphoric. One ignored message, they're crushed. That's not love, that's dependency. And dependency is heavy, it weighs on you and on them. When you master emotional detachment, you cut that invisible chain. You're no longer rattled by silence. You're not thrown off balance by absence. You realize your peace comes from inside you, not from someone else's validation. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Real freedom comes from mastering the inner world, not controlling the outer one. And here's the paradox. The more you detach emotionally, the more attractive you become. Why? Because calm is magnetic, composure is rare, and in a world addicted to instant reactions, your steadiness makes you stand out. You stop being reactive. You stop being unpredictable. You become someone who others respect, even if they can't explain why. When someone realizes you're no longer hinging your happiness on their behavior, you send a silent but powerful message. I value myself enough to be fine without you. And that is the moment they begin to feel the pull to return. 2. Focus on your purpose. Here's the next pillar of the Stoic strategy. Purpose. I'm not just talking about having goals, like a checklist. I'm talking about living with intention. People who chase others often forget themselves in the process. Their identity gets lost. Their compass breaks. They measure their worth entirely by someone else's approval. That's exhausting. And, let's be honest, it's unattractive. When you lock in on your purpose, whether that's building your career, mastering a craft, creating something meaningful, or pursuing a passion, you stop being at the mercy of someone's attention. Purpose gives you direction. Direction builds confidence. And confidence? That's one of the most magnetic traits you can have. Think about it. When was the last time you were drawn to someone aimless, lost, or endlessly fishing for reassurance? Probably never. But someone who knows where they're going, who wakes up with a fire in their eyes and a mission in their heart. That's captivating. When you're absorbed in your own journey, you stop waiting in the hallway of their attention. You're out there building, creating, living, and people notice. They start to wonder, why am I no longer part of this person's world? And often, that curiosity pulls them back. 3. Let silence speak for you. We live in a world that tells us to speak up, stay visible, and check in constantly. But sometimes, the most powerful move you can make is to say nothing. Silence, when intentional, is not emptiness, it's strength. When someone pulls away, your first instinct might be to fill the space. Send the message, make the call, remind them you care. But here's the problem: every time you do that, you hand over the power. You signal, without words, that your peace depends on their response. When you choose silence, you send an entirely different message. My peace is mine, regardless of what you do. This isn't punishment. It's not a game. It's self-respect. And it creates space, the kind of space that makes them feel the echo of your absence. In that quiet, they're left with nothing but their own thoughts. And in that stillness, they start to remember. They start to feel the gap you once filled. They wonder if walking away was the right choice. And sometimes, that wondering is exactly what brings them back. 4. Commit to ongoing self-improvement. Here's another truth. The most magnetic people aren't perfect, they're in motion. Self-improvement isn't just about hitting the gym or reading a book. It's about becoming the kind of person you'd admire if you met them. The Stoics believed the only person you should compete with is the one you were yesterday. Every skill you learn, every healthy choice you make, every challenge you overcome, they all send the same message: I am worth investing in. Here's the key: you're not doing this to win someone back. You're doing it because you refuse to stagnate. A life in constant growth naturally attracts the right kind of people. And when someone from your past sees your transformation, not because you flaunted it for them, but because you genuinely evolved, it can hit them harder than any words you could say. They realize they're not looking at the same version of you they left. They're seeing the version you were always meant to become. 5. Be unshakable in your peace. In a chaotic world, peace is rare. Most people are tossed around by circumstances, reacting to every twist like a boat in a storm. But the person who stays calm, they stand out. They become the anchor, the steady lighthouse that others instinctively trust. Being unshakable doesn't mean you never feel upset. It means you've mastered the art of responding instead of reacting. You pause, you breathe, you choose your response with intention. When others see that you don't let external noise disturb your internal calm, they're drawn to you, sometimes without realizing it. And when they've stepped away from you, that stability might be the very thing that makes them return. The final truth: you can't control who leaves. You can't control who stays. But you can control how you show up in the world. When you embody emotional detachment, focus on your purpose, use silence wisely, commit to growth, and guard your peace, you stop needing validation. You radiate it from within. And that's when they come back. Not because you asked, but because they simply can't stay away. If this resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe to Stoicism Drive, and tell me in the comments, which Stoic principle will you start applying to your relationships today? Let's grow together.